Okay, so once you open, you see something like this. You see something like this, okay, and you click here. So then go to open folder. So I want to open folder and write my code into a particular folder. So I go to my desktop, I go to Bootcamp 3.0, I go to teaching and learning materials, I go to day one, then I go to day one codes, then I select it. Okay. Once it has been selected, so from here, now most of you, I taught you how to um I showed you how to install Python on VS Code. But this time around, I'm going to use Jupyter Notebook, or some people say Jupyter Notebook, to do the teaching or the explanation. Okay, but it's still the same as the normal Python file. Okay, so for most of you, you can just go here and click on it and maybe create a Python file. Let's say tutorials, right? .py, and you have it here and you can be typing your commands. Okay, but then, for the purposes of the teaching and to make it easier for you to understand and see what I'm doing, I'm going to create what? A Jupyter notebook. So we are going to use a Jupyter notebook. But to do that, to be able to use a Jupyter notebook on your Visual Studio Code, you go to extension, then you come here and you type Jupy, it's loading. Okay, so then you click on the first one, Microsoft Own. So you click on Microsoft extension. I've already installed it, but for you guys, you can go ahead and install it. So when you go ahead and install it, then you can do what I'm doing. Okay, so let me close it. So I'm done. Let's assume I'm done installing it. Then I come back to the file explorer. So I click here to create a file. So let me call it tutorials, day one tutorials, day one tutorials. The one tutorials dot the extension is IPy notebook. Okay, when I press enter, now this has created a Jupyter notebook. Now I'll tell you later. Later on, you get to realize why I'm using a Jupyter notebook. I'm coming. Let me delete. I want to delete the one I created. So day one tutorials. So with a Jupyter notebook, this bar you see here, you can write codes inside. Okay. Now, when you come down here, you see code. When you click here, it creates another code block and you can write some more codes. So I can use this code to write, let's say we want to use this code to write about, let's say we want to write about what? Data types. So I'll use this block to write about data types. Then I'll use this block to write codes about what? Variable names. So instead of creating separate documents for each of them, I can have them in separate blocks. And both you guys can see both of them at the same time whilst I do my explanation. Now, if you click on Markdown, Markdown looks like this, but then it's used for writing sentences. So let's say maybe you can say maybe uh, notes on notes on data type. Okay, so I'll be writing my notes on data type up here. Then I'll type the code for it down here. Let me delete this one for now. I'll use it later. So right now the first thing I told you about data type is that we have different data types. We have what? Strings, okay, and for strings, what? Anything what? Quotation mark. So let's say strings is what? Anything in what? Quotation marks. Okay. Now we also have what? Integers. Okay, and integers are what? Yes, positive or negative whole numbers, including what? A zero. Then we also have float. Yes, and floats are what? They are numbers with a decimal point. Okay. Then we have boolean or bool, which is true and false. That's all. Now let me show you some more. We have what list bubbles. What did you say? Doubles. Okay, doubles are not. I think you're talking about this one Java. I think about Java or C plus plus. No, I think it's doubles are more. Is it? It's some form of numbering system, right? Okay. So you can use like very big values with an e inside. Yes. So in Python, it's all included in the floats and integers. So we have Boolean, then we have char, you can have dictionaries. I'll explain dictionary. Dictionary, you can have lists. Okay, let me talk about lists. List. So let me talk about lists. So with the list is please take note, this part is a note. It is not a code. Okay. So with the lists, we have anything in square brackets, any data in square brackets. Okay, in square brackets is a list. So you have char, dictionaries, etc. There are a lot of them. You can even have sets, and so on and so forth. You can't finish all the data types. Okay, so I'm now writing my notes. I click on the correct, and it appears like notes. So now let me type some codes here. I hope it's making the understanding easier. Yeah. So in Python, when you deal with strings, now starting with a hashtag means what? It's a comment, it's not a code. A hashtag means computer, do not run this as a code. It is just my own explanation I'm giving to my document. So don't run it as a code. So under strings, let us see some examples. So something like Kofi is a boy, okay, is a string. You can have GHC 2000 Ghana cedi is a string. You can have 14, which is a number, but it's in quotation marks, so it's what? A string. You can have 0.000, which is looking like a float, but it's a string. You can even have with capital true, as long as it's in quotation mark, it's what? A string. So any data type you have, if they are in quotation mark, they become what? Strings. Okay. Now let us look at another data type, so integers. So let me look at integers. So with integers, integers are what? Positive and negative whole numbers. So you can have 12, you can have 11, you can have negative 1000, you can have 34, you can have 0, and so on and so forth. Let me show you a quick trick. Sometimes if you're writing a very big number, let's say you're writing 12 million, and 12 million will have six zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say you're writing 12 billion. 1, 2, 3. So meaning 9 zeros. Instead of doing this way, so you write 12 with your hyphen 1, 2, 3, hyphen 1, 2, 3, hyphen 1, 2, 3. Now, it's a valid number. Just as in English or in writing, when you're writing a very big number, you put a comma to separate the zeros so that you're able to identify the tens position you are in. You can use hyphen for integers just to break it down for you to be able to see. But then it doesn't spoil anything if you take out the hyphens and you leave it like a normal number. But sometimes you may want to get your values readable enough. So just in case you don't know. So we have integers. Now let us look at which other data type did I talk about? Floats. And remember, for the computer, the short name for strings is what? str. For integers, the short name is what? int, int. And for float, it is what? Float. Without an s, it's just float. Okay. So examples of floats are, you can have 12.0. Now 12 and 12.0 are what? Equal. But then 12.0 is what? A float, and 12 is what? An integer. You can have 1.1 have 0.960007 or 5. You can have 0.0, it's a float as long as there's a decimal point. So the logic is simple. As long as there's a decimal point, it's a float. And it could be a negative number too. Negative 1.3. It's also a float. Okay. Now let us look at Boolean. And for Boolean, we already know. So Boolean, which we call what? Bool. And remember, all of them are small letters. Int, str, int, float, bool. And remember, TRE is what? True. Then we have what? False. So I think this is easy to deal with. False. Then we have another data type called list. And the computer recognizes as list, small letters. Okay. And list is anything in square brackets. So it could be 1, 2, and you have to separate the data by comma. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on. So this is a list of numbers from 1 to 10. Okay. As long as it's what? Square brackets. It could be a list of fruits. So apple, pineapple, um, mangoes, and so on. Okay, and there's also another. Yes, please. Okay, let me zoom in. Let me close this one and zoom in again. Yes, can you see? Okay, so we have apples, pineapple, mangoes. As long as they're in what? Square brackets. Now you can have a square bracket in a square bracket. Like let's say square brackets like this. You can have 1, 2, 3, then another square bracket, 4, 5, 6, then another square bracket, 7, wait, 7, 8, 9, and so on and so forth. You can have a list in a list, okay? But it doesn't matter. You can even add an apple here. It doesn't spoil anything. You can even have a list with mixed data. You can start with 2, then you can have coffee, then you can have 18, then you can have what it could be anything, then maybe you can have 0.17, then and so on and so forth. So a list can contain any data type, and all the data types within it should be separated by a comma and should be closed with what? A square bracket. Yes. Hi, any question? Okay. Mm-hmm. Yes. It's a string. This is a string data type, so the string rule applies to it. The fact that you are putting it into a list doesn't mean it has changed. If it's a number, which is an integer, the integer rule says that it should just be the number, no quotation. The string rule says it should be in quotation mark. The float rule says it should have a decimal point. And the Boolean rule says it should be true and false with capital T and capital F. So all of them still apply. Now let us look at one more data type, which is called dictionary. I didn't talk much about it, but I think it will be interesting to talk about dictionaries. And the computer recognizes it as dict. Okay. So anytime you say dict, you are referring to what? Dictionaries. Okay. And dictionaries are quite interesting. Initially, I didn't understand them, but I use this analogy and it helped me. Now, when you take your dictionary, what do you see? You see a word. Okay. Let me put a hashtag, meaning that it's a comment. So computer don't process it as a code. So you have what? A word to the meaning. Okay. So a word to the meaning. In every dictionary, that's how it is, right? So in a dictionary, a data type that is like a dictionary type, usually you have something like this. So you can have let's say a word could be the word could be, let's say, triangle. Triangle is, you are writing a word, so it should be in quotes. Triangle, and the meaning is let's say a shape with three sides. You see, so this is word to the meaning. I can have a comma, I can have maybe rectangle, okay, and then a semicolon. Then the meaning is a shape with what? Four sides. Then you can have more. So with dictionary, it's two components put together as one pair. So words to meaning. Okay. Now, since you are not dealing with dictionary words and you are dealing with Python programming, instead of saying word to meaning, we usually say keys to what? Values. So it's a key value pair. And as I said earlier, value means any other data type. So key to value. So you are assigning a certain key to a certain value. And you have to close it with what? A curly bracket. Okay. A curly bracket at the end. Okay. But then, so it's being closed with curly brackets here, then curly bracket there. And if you want to include more keys and values, you put a comma, then you include the next. So maybe this one is key 1, and this one will be, let's say, value 1. Then if you want to put another key again, that's key 2, then with another value 2, and so on and so forth, dot, 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 dot. So, and so on and so forth. So that's how we write what? A dictionary. But we have a whole day dedicated to dictionaries, man. So don't worry yourself. We have a whole day dedicated to lists because there's more to learn about them. So for now, we're going to restrict ourselves to these above. Okay. Yes, I'm not going to touch on characters because we are not going to need it for this course. So characters are usually you find it in C++, especially characters. Yeah, the characters are like they are more or less, even though they look like A, B, C, D and stuff, but they are just symbols. Like example, in your exams, when you score 80 and above or 70 and above, you are given what? A. The A is a character. It's not like A as an alphabet. It's a character representing something, a meaning, like first class or like grade A student or something like that. But then we will not be needing it for this course. And yes, so I think it's good to go. Okay. There are a lot of things I can say right now, but I don't want to overload your head. Okay. So right now we've learned about these data types and we've seen what all the five, one, two, three, four. Okay, we've seen the four main data types we'll be using for now. And there I showed you two extra data types that we'll be needing later. Okay, so currently, let me zoom in. Currently, let me go down there and make another note. So now let's go and talk about, I'm coming to make a note. Now let's talk about variables, variable names. Okay, and variable names, we said that it has what? A rule. And the rule is, the rule for variable names um, I'm coming. So the rule for variable names are one. One, the name should be one, should be like one string, or let me say one set. I don't know how to put it. Or without a space. Should be one without what? A space. Okay. So you can't have a name like you can't have a name like let's say, oh, let me see, black car. Maybe the car for is equal to, let's say, 2,000 Ghana cedi, or what? Yes, 200,000 Ghana cedi. No, it should be one word. So you can replace it with what? An underscore. Okay, these are just notes. Now, the second rule is saying that you can only use alphabets, comma, numbers, and underscores only. Okay, so example, you can say um, rank one. So there are alphabet, underscore, and numbers. Rank one, then maybe Kofi was ranked the first, so Kofi. But then, and the last rule is saying that never start, never start with a number. So you can't say first position. You can't say first position is equal to maybe Kofi, maybe Amma had the first position, so first position is equal to Amma. No, but rather the correct one is what? Let's say position underscore first is what? Amma. Okay, so I'm done with my notes. So now let's see. So let me add the code. So down here, let us see how we can have some variable names and assign them to. So these are the three rules we are going to use. So I can say age is equal to 18 and it holds true. Okay, aside the rules, let me go and edit this one. Edit. Now, aside the rules, the syntax. Okay, the syntax is um the syntax is variable underscore name is equal to what? Value. Okay, that is the syntax. Okay, so variable name is equal to what? Value. So that is how it is being written. So you can have age is equal to 18. You can have number of students in my Python class is number of students in my Python class is equal to, let's say, 200. Yes, it's loudable. Now let me do a quick test. What if I write something like this? Percentage underscore increase is equal to 20. Is it a good variable name or not? Somebody should come in. Why? Okay. So when I run this, I'm expecting to get some errors. Oh, it says connecting to panel, activating, and Python environment. Oh, okay. So this is not a good variable name. Okay. It says usage error, line magic function. So this percentage is not found. So it's a problem. So let me remove it. But when you start with an underscore, everything will be fine. I didn't tell the computer to print, so you will not see any output. So just in case, I can just say, let's say print, okay, underscore, what, increase, okay, and I run it, and it printed what, 20 as my output, okay, in 0.0 seconds, okay. So these are what, variable names, okay, and these are the nodes. When we are done with the lesson, I'll share this code with you. So you see the nodes and the codes, okay, so you can follow the code. Then this one is what variable names, the rules, the syntax, and these are some simple examples of what variable names. Okay, so let's go back to our lesson. Okay, let's go back to our lesson. For now, let me end this first video and go back to our lesson.